Hey guys, what's up? Cece back with another video, and for today's video we are going to do the perfect glam foundation routine. So let's get started, you guys. I'm going to fill this video up with so many tips and tricks for you guys. This video is definitely for beginners, but if you're not a beginner, you can certainly learn a lot from this. So this is my super full coverage glam foundation routine for oily skin. All right, this routine is not for the faint at heart. We'll do some quicker routines later, but this one is, I need my makeup to last. My skin is oily, so I need it to last all day. I need it to look amazing all day, plus I want it to be glam. That's what this is going to teach you. So first things first, we're gonna start with primer. Of course, I'm gonna use the Lorac Pro Skin Matte Primer. This is such a beautiful, beautiful primer, and it definitely helps keep me matte throughout the day. It has like that silicone feel, which isn't my favorite, but this one just works for some reason. Depending on the finish you want, you just want to pick your primer from there. So if you have dry skin, you may want to pick a more hydrating primer. If you have oily skin like me, of course, this is a matte primer and it works so well. So next on the list, I'm gonna take my Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Powder. This is in the shade Honey. This is actually my skin tone. I always use a skin tone powder when I do this step. Again, this is not makeup that I would do every single day, but this is like, I'm telling y'all, my super like full whole armor of God foundation look. All right, this foundation is not going anywhere. This makeup is gonna be beautiful all day. So I'm gonna take my beauty blender. This is my Sonia Kashuk beauty sponge, I should say, and I'm just going to press it into the powder, and I'm going to press it into my skin. And having a powder as the base not only will give you a little more coverage, but it also helps to mattify and keep your face matte. I like to make sure that the powder, well, I use it with a sponge that's damp though. I don't like to just put dry powder all over the face. I make sure that it's dampened. I also usually use a loose powder for this step as well. There we go, one light layer. You don't want to go too heavy with the powder because you don't want it to break up underneath your liquid products. So I just try to do one light layer, and you could definitely see the difference. You can see the little bit of color that it does give. Moving on, I'm gonna use two of my favorite foundations lately. One is the Gucci Natural Finish Fluid Foundation. I have done a review on this. If you haven't seen it, I'll make sure to link it. I am in the shade 330W, and then I'm gonna mix it with my other favorite baby. This is the NARS Soft Matte Complete Foundation in the shade Cadiz. I also have a full review on this foundation as well. So I'm just going to mix these together and add these to my face. The Gucci gives a nice, natural, just beautiful poreless finish. The NARS is going to balance out the color on the Gucci, as well as just give it more of a mattifying soft matte finish. So I have the soft matte here, I have the natural finish here, mixed together. It just gives the most beautiful finish. You do not have to mix your foundations at all. I just find that I like my finish and sometimes the shade better when I mix my products, but you don't have to do that at all. If you have a foundation that you love, stick with that. Now, when you do put your foundation on, you want to press it into the skin. You can use a brush or you can use a beauty sponge. I prefer a beauty sponge. I just feel like it looks a little more seamless, but if you need more coverage, you would use a brush. So a brush will give you like that ultimate full coverage, which we will actually get that here. I'm just going to use a second layer of the foundation, but a brush will give you that full coverage. I just find that sometimes you will get brush strokes depending on the brush that you use, and I find the easiest method, especially if you're a beginner, is to just use the sponge, and it really does do the job. I mean, it does the job so easily. Just look at how beautiful my skin is. And then if you look on this side, you can definitely see the difference. and it covers everything. I love this foundation combination. This is probably my favorite one yet. So you should be matching your foundation to your chest, you know? So you wanna bring the foundation down your neck so everything can match. You want your neck, your face, your chest, all of that to be seamless. You don't see a line of demarcation or anything here because the color I have is like spot on to my chest. So here we are with the first layer of foundation. This could be perfect for some. If you find that you want extra coverage, no shame in going back in with your foundation. I'm just gonna take, a small drop of both. And I'm going to just add a little bit more on this side. And once you've been wearing your makeup for a while, you will absolutely know what type of coverage you prefer, what type of coverage you want. You'll be able to spot that right off when you put the makeup on. So that's just something, the more you wear the makeup, the more you'll be more comfortable with knowing how full of a coverage you would like. But this is what we look like right after foundation. So for the next step, we're going to go ahead and conceal under the eyes. I'm gonna take one of my favorites. This is the Hourglass, I don't know the exact name of it, but it'll all be linked down below. This is the Hourglass, Vanish Concealer, that's what it's called. I have the shade Beach, and I am just going to put this under the eyes. I am still using the upside down triangular method for the most part. It works for me. It works. Now, you don't need a super full coverage concealer depending on what you have to cover underneath your eyes. I enjoy this concealer, which is super full coverage by the way, but I enjoy this concealer because it brightens so well. But again, you do not need a super full coverage concealer if you have nothing really to cover. I also put the leftover concealer in other spots on my face that I just would like to brighten up. And the whole deal with concealer is you want to put it in places that the light would naturally hit. So the light should naturally hit these points of my face, and I'm just enhancing that when it does. And then let me grab this concealer because I'm gonna put it in one more spot. And that's close to my jawline as well. I'm gonna take that same blending sponge and I'm just going to blend everything out. Once again, using the patting motion, not a rubbing motion, because all you're gonna do is move your makeup around, and you don't wanna do that. So you're certainly gonna look like a bit of a crazy person at first, but I promise you guys, this will all come together. Don't worry, it's about to get weirder, okay? Because what we're going to do is actually cream contour. Before we set all of this, we're gonna use our cream. This is the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate Sculptor Palette. This is in the shade Intensity 2. I have talked to you guys about this numerous times because I love it so much. It's uber expensive, but it gets the job done and done well, all right? So I like to use a synthetic brush when I am using cream products, and I just really dip my brush into it like this. Just dip it up in there. Get a good amount of product on, not like too much, but get a nice amount. And then I start to blend in my contour space. So these are the hollow spaces, the spaces where the shade normally hits your face, and you want to just accentuate those spaces a bit. So that would be the hollows of your cheeks. You kind of want to bring them back some. So the hollows of your cheeks, that would be your forehead, especially if you have a larger forehead like I do. I try to minimize that by contouring my forehead. And when you have the darker shade here, right at the top, it just gives the appearance of a smaller forehead. And then you also want to hit your jawline Just be careful because you don't want to look like you gave yourself a 5 o'clock shadow, okay? So be careful with the jawline, but I do like to hit my jawline just to give it a little more shape. And don't worry about if you feel like you went overboard with the contour shade, because we about to clean that up right now, y'all, all right? First thing we're gonna do is set up under our eyes. I'm going to use my Too Faced. This is the Ethereal Setting Powder, the Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder. Absolutely love this setting powder. So I'm going to take it, and we still using the same thing, y'all. We're still using our damp beauty sponge. So I'm just gonna take some powder, and the first thing I'm gonna do is press it up under the eyes. This sets that concealer, it smooths everything out, and also gives you more brightness, more light. On top of that, I'm also going to set down here. And this is where you can really shape the hollows of your cheeks. So if you went a little too overboard on the hollows of your cheeks with the cream product, you can go ahead and set that right here. Set that right. Now with the powder, I just let that sit for a bit, and then I'll go over it with my entire face powder. And what I'm gonna use today is the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Powder. I have this one in the shade 250 Radiant Sand. And this is a newer powder from L'Oreal, but I absolutely love it. I take a big fluffy brush and I just dust the powder on the face. This is not only going to set your makeup, but it's also going to give you a little more coverage, because this is actually a powder foundation. It is not just a setting powder. And as I'm adding that powder to the face, I'll just dust away the under eye setting powder. Adding this powder also gives your face a seamless look. It kind of pulls everything together when you use your face powder. It just pulls the entire look together. Speaking of angles, I'm gonna take this contour brush. This is the Scott Barnes number 65 brush, which I absolutely love. And I'm going to use my Fenty Beauty bronzer. This one's in the shade Cocoa Naughty, a little bit of a warmer shade, but you know, the preference of the shade is up to you. When you do contour, a lot of people like to use cooler shades. I'm okay with redder shades for contouring. Some people only like to bronze with redder shades, but I'm okay with using it there for contouring. And if you happen to go a little overboard and add too much, don't worry, baby. Just take that powder brush and just dust it over the face, and it'll help you blend everything together again. So after I do that step, I like to do one more face powder, and that is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Infinity Powder. Now this is truly a finishing powder. You will get zero coverage out of this, but when I tell you, like, it finishes the look, just kind of gives it like that extra something, that's what it does. It just really polishes it off. If your face is looking powdery or just like super matte or more dry than you would like, I would definitely put this on top of the powder, and it'll really help combat that. And I know it's a powder going on top of a powder, and you're like, how is the powder gonna combat that? I promise you it will combat that. To me, it just adds some life back into the face. That's how I look at it. It just adds a little life back into the face. Let's move on to blush. I'm gonna use this Cover FX Monochromatic Blush Duo. This one's in the shade Spice Cinnamon. I'm just gonna take the matte side. I'm going to dip my blush brush, and I don't like to go too overboard with blush because you really don't need much. But it's really nice to have that little, just small pop of color on your cheekbones. And I do like to brush my blush upward because you want your face to kind of upward, you know what I mean? You don't want your face sagging down. You want it to really lift the face. So all of the makeup that you put on should really be kind of at an angle to lift the face. Last but not least, I'm gonna put on this highlighter. This is the MAC Extra Dimension Skin Finish in Whisper of Guilt. It's one of my favorite highlighters ever. So I'm just going to, right at the tip of that blush, I'm gonna add the highlighter right at my cheeks right there. Add it to the tip of the nose for a bit of light there, and then I also added for some light on my Cupid's bow. So of course we have to finish off the look using a setting spray. This is the Pure Cosmetics Matte Mist Anti-Pollution Setting Spray. I definitely do really enjoy this spray. Then I always take my blending sponge and just press it into the skin. You guys, that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I hope it was super helpful for you. This is how I get my face to look super flawless, and it works if you use the techniques every single time. I love the way this makes my face look, and although the products that I use, they're some of my favorite products and I've used them over and over, the products can definitely be swiped out for things that work better with your skin type. So make sure you just remember that. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.